In addition to the events, Tom had quite a personal experience, which he will relate with us in the World Trade Center Twin Towers, because he worked there, including up until that morning. Tom addresses the question, did you know that the alternative media has grown in quantum leaps since 9/11? Please welcome Tom Kiely. You're good.
All right, Richard Gage has done a great and tireless job, and that's the kind of reason why we created our alternative media here in New York, to give people like Richard a voice across the country. So first thing, of course, on this anniversary of that terrible day, I just like to take a moment to think about family members, co-workers that are no longer here today, servicemen and women, firefighters, first responders who are no longer here today, and just consider that, and the rest of the people in the world that were injured psychologically that day. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. And I'd also like to talk not necessarily to the converted here. When INN first got started in 2001 with my partner Lenny Charles, who you'll be hearing from in a little bit, we took a look at we got involved because the corporate media wasn't doing its job way back then, right after the theft of the 2000 election. And unfortunately, the alternative media, such as it was at the time, wasn't doing its job either. And we determined the reason why the alternative media wasn't doing its job is because they were too busy preaching to the converted. So in that spirit, INN started, and we talk with everybody, no matter what side of the political spectrum that they're on. If they make sense, we talk with them. So in that spirit, I'd like to talk now to all of those friends and family members and brothers and sisters out there who are struggling with the truth about 9/11 and who are not part of the converted here. Because there's plenty to talk about that is beyond dispute, that anybody, whether they believe the government's version of the story or not, have to agree on. All right? And for one thing, we don't need wars. We don't need Patriot Acts. We don't need military expenditures to defend ourselves from attacks, sneak attacks like Pearl Harbor or 9/11, because we were already sold on that concept when we built the most powerful military in the history of the human race and paid for it over and over and over again. Okay? We have that already. We've always had that. It just didn't work that day. It didn't show up for work that day. Here in our fair city, these good police officers show up for work every day. What would happen if every bank in New York got robbed on the same day because they didn't show up for work? What would happen? So we already have what it takes to defend from 9/11 attacks. Condoleezza Rice said quite erroneously, "Who would have thunk it?" Give me a break, Condoleezza. It was in the news years before that an attack was being planned with the airliners. Webster Tarpley has shown us where multiple military exercises were happening leading up to and on the day of 9/11 itself, practicing against commercial airliners being flown around as bombs. So we already had what it took to defend. The question is, why not? Who's paid that price? How would you like to totally screw up your job and still have your job? Not even get reprimanded, not even get demoted, not even get put in front of a firing squad, for crying out loud. Nobody, not a single person, okay? We already paid for it. We continue to pay for it. Now they say, you know what it's like? It's like, I live in New York. You know, security is a concern. What if I spent the money, my hard-earned money, to get the best security system on earth for my house? And it takes months. And I'm paying, and the contractors are there, and they're wiring everything up, and they've got cameras everywhere, and they got laser beams and everything else, and they're all done. And they say, Mr. Kiely, your house is secure. No one's going to get in your house. Here's the final check. Thank you. They walk away. The next night, my house gets broken into. And I say to them, what happened? I got the best. What happened? And they say, oh, hell, we forgot to turn it on. Real good. So now they're going to solve my problem. They said, but don't worry, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. It'll never happen again. And they go back to work, and they come back to me, and they say, it's all fixed now. We got it fixed. I said, what'd you do? We put a prison fence up around your neighborhood. We turned your neighborhood into a concentration camp. Nobody's going to be able to get in and out now. That's their solution. We had the best security system on planet Earth. It didn't show up for work that day. It did not work that day. And what's their solution? Not to make it work what we already have, but to take away our liberties and our freedoms and our rights and get into wars all around the world and cause the death of at least 1 million people who had nothing to do with it. All right, so we can all agree on that, whether you're in the converted here or not. So let's focus on common ground, what we can all talk about. We were starting INN at the time, as Richard said, 1/2 mile directly north of Ground Zero. I was working for a financial software company. Cantor Fitzgerald was one of our clients. I was going up to the 105th floor, 103rd floor every week. Last day I was up there was on September the 5th. So I know people that I work with that aren't here today right now. This is, in fact, this is a shirt I was wearing that day. Sorry, it probably fit a little better, you know, back then. But it was wet that day too, because I got caught outside and I had to make my way into a building and clean out my mouth and my face, and I had to put water on this shirt and wrap it around my face to go back to work, to travel through the city. Shock and awe, but it doesn't make sense. So I wanted to share that with everyone, that you know, let's find common ground with the people who haven't quite gotten there yet. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to say congratulations to the American people, because the alternative media is making a difference. We just were told we have to go to war again because of chemical weapons and weapons of mass destruction, and the American people said no. And that's, we deserve a big round of applause for that. Could we depend on our politicians to protect us from that lie to go into war? No. Could we depend on the corporate media to protect us from that lie to go into war? No. Who told us about weapons of mass destruction the last time? Who were the cheerleaders? So that's what we're up against, and that's another point. When you hear people say, well, golly, you know, somebody would talk if it was an inside job. Really? How far do you think you're going to get with information about an inside job if you go to the corporate media? GE, big, huge defense contractor. Okay, we have whistleblowers that we've interviewed. There was a film just came out about TWA Flight 800. There is radar evidence now that the plane was struck by a missile. Where is that? That's man bite dog news, right? That should be front page news. Not. They can't get anywhere. 60 Minutes comes to visit these people, to talk with them, and then the story gets quashed. There's whistleblowers in the Department of Homeland Security. 60 Minutes spent 9 hours with them a year and a half ago. Big stories don't make it. So anyway, like that, does that mean 3 or does that mean done? That means 2 minutes. Okay, so in any case, welcome to our fair city, and you know, thank you, Richard Gage, for doing what you're doing, and you know, just keep on keeping on, because let's remember all of the good people out there that are not quite on the page yet, and we have to approach them with compassion and the truth, and ask them questions like that. There's plenty that we can talk about that is not in dispute. The only other, you know, Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, what we're being told about, you know, the Assad family right now, they have the same amount of accountability as our leaders in Washington do on issue after issue after issue like 9/11. Zero accountability, and it's our fault. No more unaccountability. It's up to us, and I think we did a great job as an American family to say no to this war in Syria. Let's keep it going. Thank you very much.
What Tom is saying is you have to go out there and be the media. How many of you are being the media yourself? That's because you have to distribute the truth, because we're not finding it here in Times Square at CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, CBC, and all of the other 3-letter abominations that call themselves truth in media.